Welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I'm recording episode, 225, maybe, something on the lines. And today I have with me Awais Farooq. I've been practicing that. Awais Farooq, U.S. Insurance Practice Lead for ActiveOps. So Awais, thank you for joining today. How are you doing?
Awesome, Tony. And thank you very much for having me on this your webcast. It's awesome to be a part of it. It's awesome. The holidays are over. We're into the new year, new resolution. So great to be here.
New Year's resolutions. Okay, I hope that you're planning your life better than by using New Year's resolutions. But we are recording today on January 4th, the first work day of the year of this new year, 2021. I like to think of it as 2018 was pretty good. 2019 was even better. Then the year that shall not be named, which was hard. And now 2021. So Farooq, tell us, we always give the guests the chance of giving kind of the elevator speech. What exactly, or the elevator pitch, what exactly is it that ActiveOps do?
So ActiveOps is a digital operations management platform for organizations. We are in banking, financial services, healthcare, insurance, PNC. That's where we're really trying to go very big. And it's really focused around your operations management, whether it's in the claims area, underwriting area, wherever you have individuals doing any work, is really defining that into what the organization can attain when it comes to productivity. We have two different spectrum of employee productivity. You either work your employees way too much, or you don't give them enough work. Employees will always tell you that there's always enough work for them to do, but we help find that balance that helps organizations make better judgment of delivering the right amount of work to people again, over and over again, to be able to get completion on a productivity. So it's really gauging an idea on production management. How do you attain the best out of your team, best out of your people? In addition, for teams to really gauge an idea into how well are they doing? Are they being burned out because they have so much work going on and there's not enough people? We always hear the same story again and again. But the other aspect of it is really to finding those gaps of where you have capacity and helping out another team when you can. So we've bridged the gap between them.
I like the idea of making sure that people have the right amount of work. And so within the PNC space, claims is famous for high workloads, right? And almost any claims organization, the people will tell you that there's a burnout problem, right? But at the same time, in this same industry, I have ran into many, many, many people, and I myself have been on the seat a couple of times, where you don't have enough work for whatever reason, right? It might be seasonal. It might be just for whatever reason. I had a conversation recently with a friend who I recommended him for a job at a very, very good carrier that I really respect, and where I've placed multiple people, and for a field claims job. And every other person that's gone to that carrier has told me how much they love it, and there's so many good things. So I convinced this guy, and it wasn't even like a placement for Jacobson. It was like a favor to the guy. Hey, you should really look at this carrier. They're really good for field claims people. And he lasted for 2 years, and then he left. So we just caught up, and I'm like, that's weird. Nobody ever leaves that organization, especially the field claims area. And he explained that they were new to the Atlanta market. And he kept telling them that they needed more field adjusters in Atlanta, and it just didn't happen. So he was dying under an incredible load of work, while many of his teammates in other states that had where the company had a presence forever were telling him that they were light on work, right? But it didn't get recognized. Even after he asked for help, it didn't get recognized that the work could be moved within the team. So I think that there's definitely, and I've heard it a lot for people that they're bored, that they don't have enough to do. And it's a thin line between being overworked and being bored and underutilized. And of course, when you ask your people, nobody's going to tell you that they don't have enough work, because they don't want to talk themselves out of a job,
And it's not a healthy thing, right? So for an employee to not have enough work, they're doing two things. So when you're overworking your employees, they're going to be looking for another job because they're just burned out and they know they can't take it for another day. And then if you don't give them enough work, they're not challenged enough to seeing, what are their capabilities to be able to handle. So with that being said, they're also going to be looking out for another job. So retention becomes very key in finding out, although, what my organization does, we don't control the amount of claims that are going to come in. But what we help leadership and management team do is to track that live instead of historical data and saying, oh, we should have done things this way. So we give you a live platform of here's where the workforce is, here's where your time is, capacity, and here's how much work you have to get done. How do you mesh the two together? So if you have, let's say, team A, like you said, maybe it's in Illinois and it's got a lot of volume because they just got hit with a hail season, right? Versus in Pennsylvania where there was no hail in the last couple of months, so they're not as busy. How do you leverage one team to another, although they can't travel there, but they can still handle those claims virtually. They can still review those IA reports. So we help gauge geographically an opportunity for you to mesh your workforce together, as well as making sure you have control over it. So, at the end of the day, like your individual that you're talking about, a lot of people take, hey, this works great in this part of the country. You can handle 2 claims a day. But when you go to New York City, traveling 30 miles is not the same as traveling 30 miles in Iowa. I remember it took me 30 miles on Long Island, about 3 hours to get from Long Island to Queens. And in Iowa, I could probably do that in 20 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a great point. And you guys can plug into not just claims, but underwriting systems, or basically, if I understand correctly, any system within my company that is task based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything that can generate a report out for us that could tell us who is doing what, when, and how much they've completed. We can take that and we can take a look at, people are using PeopleSoft. Some people may use Workday or some of the other human capital systems, management systems. We can together figure out if somebody's called out in one team or somebody's, on vacation. You can prepare better for that ahead of time instead of being reactive. So that's why we call it active operations. As a leader, I always ran reports. You have phone reports, claims report, underwriting, writing reports, how many renewals you have, all of those things. You run all those reports individually. And by the time those reports get delivered to somebody's desk, and by the time they get reviewed, they're already a month old, right? It's like it has no value to you because now the dynamic of your work has changed. You went from hail claims to now hurricanes in a different part of the country. And then you went from writing new business to now in a mode of renewal because you got the mid of the year coming on.
Yeah, 7/1 is coming.
Exactly, 7/1 is coming. So it's really taking anything. So it doesn't have to be any complex reporting or any complex IT involvement. We really just gather the information based off of existing systems, and we can work with anything that can give us some basic information.
Okay, and is it so? I run a department. I feel that I have a general guess that we're not distributing work appropriately. I give you a call. We start the conversation. It looks like a good fit for me. Is it a software as a service type thing, or are you literally somebody showing up with a Dell server to add to my back room?
We can do that if that's what you asked for.
Okay.
But,
Which in insurance, at times it might, yeah.
Yes. I remember the paper files that I still had till last year. I think we still have them. But it is a SaaS product, so it's completely remote. Completely in the cloud based. All the information is secured. So we have all the right accreditations from a security standpoint as well.
Okay, and I don't have to be API ready. It sounds like as long as there's a report in some shape or format, some poor soul on your side will figure out how to connect to it, or how to get the data out of it.
That's it. We'll take out all the Excel sheets out of your hand, and no longer you don't need to run any more pivot tables and trying to figure out, what do I do with this? And, somebody's going to be out for 3 months versus I need to hire 10 more people. You'll have all of that. You won't need to worry about any pivot tables.
Okay. What does the pricing look like? Is it a per user or how does it scale for
Yeah.
the different size organizations?
Yeah, so it really depends on the organization. As I said, there's different levels of what you can attain. So we offer from a value perspective, with one of our products, which is an introductory product, it's going to give you about 5 to 7% of capacity lift. And then we have products that will give you 15 to 20% of capacity lift. So that means that, there's 4 different quadrants when an employee is reporting to your company. They're either working on core work related activities, they're either in a diverted time, which is your teams meetings, links meetings, or any training or anything else they're doing that's not core work related. The third piece is absences. They're away from their job for X, Y, and Z, PTO, anything like that. And the last piece is that the time that is missed. So the in between time of things, I call it, is you're doing task A, task B, and then there's that gap of missing work area. That's what we help minimize to make sure that you have the right people working on the right things. So from a pricing perspective, it is individual based, but it depends on the scale of how big the organization is, et cetera.
Okay. Have you seen a significant increase in demand as we all went home with remote to work remotely?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's the other way around. You would think that companies are worried about, hey, are my people working? But a lot of organizations are also worried that the employees are not stopping to work, right? I mean, I think many of us are logged in till 11 o'clock, midnight, because we feel like we have to be, because somebody sends an email, because somebody sent you an estimate to review, or whatever it may be, because they're working a flexible time, or they're working in a different part, right? So Eastern people working with California now feel like they have to stretch their day. And companies are worried that people are going to burn out, because what happens is the longer you work, your quality of work decreases, right? So you want to make sure you attain the best outcome from people, from that aspect of it. So we're seeing the other aspect of it, and we've seen a huge increase in companies looking for services like this, because there's nothing that gives them a real-time live view into what's happening in the organization at the minute level, right? Our products can show you, here's where your organization is at the grand scale level, whether you have 10, 20,000 people. We just implemented the product into an organization with 24,000 people. So the scale is huge, but at a snapshot, you look at it from an executive standpoint, you can review at that grand scale of how effectively is my workforce working, right? At the same time, am I out working or burning out one region versus another because they're getting more work? With the remote work, that entire segmentation of, only Eastern region does it this way or they do it this way is all gone out the water, right?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I hope that we've kind of covered the product, what ActiveOps is doing. If we missed anything, make sure to mention it. I always like to talk about the career aspect, and in your case, we had a prior conversation, and I was kind of blown away. You've had just immense career growth in a short period with insurance. So kind of tell me a story. Like I see that you've got your degree in human performance management, so not RMI. So how did you end up falling into insurance?
Yeah, like many of us, Tony, we don't grow up saying that we want to be an insurance adjuster. And I was in a completely different industry. I was in retail, retail operations management. That's what I did before. And then all of a sudden, I got introduced to insurance, and I got introduced to claims. I thought it was going to be a 6-month, a year-long gig, and I was going to move on to something different. And it became my life. It's been an awesome journey. I was with State Farm for a very long time, about 9 years, 8, 9 years there. Then I went to Farmers, Chubb Insurance, and then Berkshire Hathaway Guard. And I'll tell you that every single organization, I learned a tremendous amount of knowledge about insurance that I thought I knew a lot about insurance, and I rediscovered myself. And that's what the key is to success, Tony, is like continuously learning. I have a master's in insurance management, and it's all through CPCU. There's a lot of different things that in insurance industry folks can do to really keep themselves competitive, right? When it comes to that, everybody wants the growth, everybody wants to progress in their career, but the key thing is really trying to find your niche and finding out what are you good at. I was great at claims. I tried out a few other things and in between in the insurance industry, but I knew that claims was my thing. And operations, later I discovered that I am really great at operations, managing people at large scale, and all through education, right? Understanding how the insurance industry works, understanding what you have to do, and the biggest key is really building your own brand. Is what I give an advice to anybody who's trying to progress.
So you've touched on a heck of a lot of things. So let's kind of dig little by little. So I agree with everything you said. So that's good. Okay, so your State Farm auto and fire claim. So that's in office, right? So that is one of the entry points into that is one of the biggest entry points into the industry, is that type of large carrier, simple claims type inside role. How do you, so I find, and the number one question I get is how do I get noticed in that kind of role? And I think that there's an expectation of how do I get noticed to the point that I get tapped in the shoulder? Mm-hmm. And personally, I believe that in large organizations at the entry level, there is no such thing as tapped in the shoulder. You can be, and this is nothing against State Farm. It's a great company, nothing against any of the large carriers. But in my experience and what I see a lot of people, you can be the best claims call center person ever. They'll be more than happy to. Did I get stuck? Hold on. My video got stuck. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're frozen.
Okay, let's ignore the video. If you're watching this on the YouTube side, if you're not, you might want to go just to see the silly face that I got stuck under. Hopefully my video comes back at some point. Okay, so my experience, they'll be more than happy to let you sit there and be the best call center person ever, or the best entry level claims person ever, and unless you invest in yourself and apply for the other areas or for the higher levels of the company, you'll be there forever. So what was your experience?
I think you're absolutely right. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in education. You have to demonstrate that you're willing to do what's needed to get the job done. But more importantly, Tony, I think what's important is really knowing what value you bring to the organization, right? What are the expertise and what makes you different than your peer? I had it's funny you mentioned that, that I want to be tapped on the shoulder. I had an individual, a peer of mine, who is a great a mentor of mine, and he pushed me a lot. But one of the things that he had was, he said, Awais, I want somebody to tap me on my shoulder and say, I am giving you this job. But yet, and he had done everything that you can ask for, from insurance education, was an excellent adjuster, did all the gigs that, checked all the boxes. But at the end of the day, you really have to develop, what does it look like for your brand? How do you differentiate yourselves from the others? And are you doing the right things, right? Are you doing just the average? And the biggest piece is be amazing at whatever you do. So if you're the call center person, be the top call center person. That's the first and foremost. And that's the best advice I got. No matter what role you're in, be the best at it. And then figure out how you can attain and what's going to make you successful in the next role that you want to go to, and have a path.
And I think that second question. Okay, so being the best at the job, that is the same at every company. At every company, your best chance of growing is going to be being the best at the job. Mm-hmm. But then from there up, what helps you grow, I think, varies in each organization. Mm-hmm. So in my experience, finding the right mentors,
Yeah.
talking to a lot of people who are in the areas that you want to go into, especially people that come from the areas that you come from.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that to be super helpful in figuring out, in this particular company, in this particular department I'm interested in, what are the things that are valued, right? So in your case, you were at State Farm. Historically, at State Farm, CPCU was almost expected, right? It was like everybody pursues CPCU, CHFC, CLU. In State Farm, it's a very easy guess that right, my manager CPCU, his manager CPCU. I should probably pursue CPCU. In many other companies, it's not that easy to assess. So you managed to grow from property claims to catastrophe. So were you out on the field in catastrophe, or were you
Yeah, no,
catastrophe?
No, I was in the field, traveled 8 to 10 months out of the year. So sacrificed my life, but it was an amazing journey. I got to see parts of the country I wouldn't have gone to. I've seen the world's tallest fire hydrant, to a chair, to a ketchup bottle. So, great journey. But like you said, it's about that mentorship, and you have to go a step beyond, right? You have to go to the leadership, not just directly where you're applying, but even sometimes above that, and really be genuine in your approach and saying, hey, I want to do what it takes to get to that level. What does that look like? Because your own direct manager will be great. They'll give you tips, but at the same time, they'll be selfish. They don't want to let you go if you're an excellent at what you're doing. Right? And that's the biggest mistake I see folks doing, is just mentoring with their direct manager and not venturing out, not opening up their network and speaking to people that can guide them truly, genuinely, without having any interest.
That is a fantastic point. And I should make one of my short Hey Insurance videos about this. I personally believe that whether you have a great manager or a copy manager, even if you have a great manager, I personally believe that your manager can't be your mentor. Those are different things, right? And even if you have a great manager who is clearly investing in your growth, and who clearly wants you to grow and knows how to grow within your organization, you need mentors in other departments of your company, and you need mentors outside of your company. I remember when I was at Nationwide, and I had 4 different roles in 4 different cities, in 4 different departments at Nationwide. So I got to see a very broad view of Nationwide. One of those roles was a rotation program through the finance department at Nationwide. Really fantastic leadership rotation program. Got to see behind the curtain on a lot of things. My girlfriend was at Nationwide also, but she was in the brokerage area where they helped exclusive Nationwide agents place business in other carriers. And I remember her saying that Nationwide is its own world. It's so different from the rest of the industry. And I think that's the case at all the large carriers, right? State Farm is also its own world, and Allstate is its own world. Because they're large enough that they kind of have their own gravity, right? Many people spend their entire careers internally. And then after I left Nationwide, I realized that she was absolutely right. It is radically different from Liberty, radically different from American Modern, radically different from many other carriers that I haven't worked at, but that I've partnered with to help them with staffing. It really, it's easy in a large company to if you don't have outside mentorship, and that's where the CPCU society can be really, really helpful. It's kind of a built-in group of mentors that where you can easily find somebody to teach you about the rest of the industry. So almost 10 years at State Farm. 2017, you leave State Farm. That has become a little more common, but it used to be people who are close to 10 years at State Farm never leave. So how did you end up making the decision to leave State Farm?
Yeah, it was a difficult decision. I loved what I was doing. I loved the people that I was doing it with, and that's the best thing, and I had great support system, and there was definitely growth in my path there. But it really boiled down to personal. I got married. My wife didn't want me traveling as much. And
you were still catastrophe.
Yeah, I was still catastrophe. So I had tried out traveling for about a year, and figured out that if I want to have a family, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So I wanted to stay grounded and stay in one place. So I went with Farmers, had a little opportunity there. Meanwhile, while I got approached by Chubb for a much larger opportunity, which was more in leadership, and that's really where the transition happened. It was personal. It wasn't, I loved the culture at State Farm. I loved everything that was happening there. But like you said, I mean, when you're at these large organizations, you think the insurance world is just that, and in many cases it is, and rightfully so because they've built a huge empire. But there's other aspects of insurance that I didn't know about. So I go from doing property to property at Farmers and then to Chubb, where I got exposed to 19 different lines of businesses. So I helped set up cyber cats. So, working with Bitcoins, working with a lot of different machine learning technology, RPAs, and it just opened me up to a whole another world of opportunities that I couldn't even imagine, because of, not because of the organization, but more so in the role and where my involvement was. It was strictly focused on claims, strictly focused. I worked some drone projects when I was there in the field, but nothing at the magnitude of, hey, you're dealing with workers' comp, professional liability, E&O, D&O, all the stuff I learned in CPCU came into play.
Mhm.
And
So CAT, it sounds like, and I never did CAT. I interviewed for CAT once at Liberty Mutual, and I ended up not going in that direction. It was before I got into underwriting. So CAT, a great experience, great money. It's a divorce factory.
it is.
Right. So if you're a young claims adjuster and you're single, no kids, right, you're still in your 20s, it could be a great way to make a good amount of money in the for the next year, 2 years. You'll see a lot of the country. You'll get great experience. That's a big piece that I really want to. You'll get a whole. So when you're interviewing for your next role, 2 or 3 or 4 years on the road, if you're call center, you're going to get very little respect. If you're inside claims, you're going to get a little more. If you're field claims, you're going to get significantly more. If you're catastrophe, you're going to get a lot more. So it really, like you in what I've seen is you can really fast forward your career by doing CAT for a little bit, but then you might have to leave the company afterwards so it's interesting. And then another thing that I really like here is, so you after 9 years at State Farm, you go to Farmers for 3 months. So the reason I bring that up, I love that you have not deleted that from your LinkedIn, because many people delete very short stops from their LinkedIn, and they're like, oh, I was just looking. And the reason I like that you didn't delete that is because I get that call often. I get that call from people going, I've been here for a long time. I have an opportunity. I'm excited for it. But what if I get there and it's not a great match, right? And they're afraid that they will forever stain themselves with the scarlet letter of a short stint, whether they choose to move on or they get shown the door early on in the first 6 months, let's say. And what I always tell them is, yes, if you're Tony Cañas and you've had 4 jobs in 4 years, right? If you've been in the industry for 7 years and you've had 7 different jobs in those 7 years, yes, you have to be careful. Your next move, you should go somewhere where you'll get some tenure. But if you spent 5 years at your last company, 9 years at your last company, then it's not a big deal. You're gonna have to explain it, but it's really not a big deal. So then you go into Chubb, which is a fantastic company, absolutely, both before and after the acquisition. I think January 2018, was that around the time of the acquisition?
It was after.
Okay, so it was after the acquisition. Okay. And then you go to Guard, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a very young company, right? It's one of the Berkshire companies, and it might have been founded in like the 90s.
Yeah, it's a much younger company. It used to be a workers' comp carrier, went into MultiLine after they got acquired by Berkshire Hathaway, and is a fantastic company to be a part of. It was a very flat organization. So coming at State Farm, Farmers, Chubb, you have these hierarchy charts, and going to a very flat organization was a fantastic experience. And it's got the company itself has a great potential, and the growth model is just amazing. So it was a completely different dynamic shift for me, to going from corporate America, to call it, to more of a more mom and pop shop, but it's not really a mom and pop shop. It's got a Berkshire Hathaway name attached to it. Almost, I think they are almost at over 1,300 employees now. So the company before the acquisition, I think, was about 400 or 500 employees, and it just
Oh, so Berkshire didn't create. Okay, that makes sense. Berkshire's model is
Yeah.
now that I think about it,
Yeah.
is buying. By the way, young insurance professionals, read the Buffett letters. If or at least read my summary of the Buffett letters on insurance.com. You'll learn. I think that I learned almost as much from the Buffett letters as I did from CPCEO. Buffett has a way of bringing down the insurance into the most simple terms possible, and his way of seeing it is really fascinating, and his portfolio of insurance companies is fascinating. So yeah, of course they bought Guard instead of creating it. So you get to Guard with a director title, right? You've landed, right? You've arrived. You're a director, and within a year, you either get. It looks like you got promoted to AVP. So there you go. You're an AVP. You're like 33 years old. Like you could easily sit there for the rest of your career. You've made it, right? Whether it's at Guard or somewhere else, you can enjoy being an AVP for the rest of your career. How did you decide to go ahead and make the move to InsurTech? Or really, you guys are really, if I understand correctly, you're the insurance guy or one of the few insurance people for a technology company, basically.
So it started at Chubb. Like, as I said, like when I started, I knew I wanted to do something with technology within the insurance industry, and it was just, drones was the new thing. I started playing around with some technology there at the drones level, and then when I came on, Chubb and played with a lot of the different automation, process transformation, RPA projects, it just really opened my doors, like, my eyes to a different world. Because now here I am, I have a very large organization that I'm overseeing, and I am trying to perfect it by figuring out how do I do process automation, how do I do process reengineering, and I'm doing all of this, and then I've been tapped to go to Berkshire as an opportunity to start a claims department there. So that was an exciting opportunity to do all of that. And when I was there, I loved it. Amazing. As I said, every single organization I've been at it's been a blessing to be able to work with some of the amazing people in my career. But it was, I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to work with technology, and that's what really my motive. I always found myself, even in that role, to always talk about technology. In that role, I'm introducing new technology, some AI and drones, and when it comes to opportunity for any automation, I was in the forefront. So kind of did some self-digging and self-reflection and finding out, well, what does this mean? Like, where am I taking my career? I am always looked at, or I always want to seek out the opportunities where I'm making process, where I'm making lives of people better. And I've been speaking with ActiveOps for quite some time. We had an engagement before, and about 3 years ago, and it's a company in UK, so they came to US, and they're huge in financial sector, huge in healthcare, and they wanted to launch themselves into PNC. So I raised my hand and I said, this is everything that I've built at a variety of different organizations I've been to, and it was always lacking a piece, and this is the missing piece. Because when we're in insurance, people are teaching you, even at the leadership level, you'll always get good mentorship. You'll always get any type of training into the type of work that you do, the policies, procedures, how to write an estimate, how to scope a loss, how to do SIU investigation. And then as a manager, you're taught how to have crucial conversations with your employees. How do you develop the talent? How do you have the discussions around performance and all of that? But nobody ever taught me production management, right? It's like, that's one key thing that I never had a single class or anybody at senior leadership really talking about it, because everybody had defined productivity as something different. So you can speak to a different manager. It's like, oh, I find it productive when a field adjuster is handling 2 claims a day, right? And then you find some other people going, no, I find it productive when an adjuster is in 20 claim files a day, right? Or an underwriter who writes X amount of business on a daily basis, right? So all these metric-driven organizations, which is phenomenal, you have to be metric-driven, but it didn't really translate into production. And everybody's productivity is a little bit different. So when I found out that my organization doesn't just drop a tool at your front yard and say, here's the technology, have fun with it. We actually have a active operations method management methodology. So it's a coaching and guiding journey where we take you through and help you realize the benefits of your organization. So that's what intrigued me the most in saying, look, all this stuff that I've been doing at the department level, at the company level, now I get to do it at the insurance industry level. Why not go at it? And I left the leadership journey and went into sole contributor. So it's a huge shift. And I still itch when somebody talks about a claim. I have a friend call me up and saying, hey, I had a claim, I had a hail loss. What do I do? And I just start itching, like an addict. So it's that's how it transitioned, really about my passion for helping people, passion for really making the industry a better place. That's what it's all
Awesome. Awesome. And how did you decide? So you had your CPCU already.
Mhm.
How did you decide to go back to get the master's in insurance management from BU? How did you consider like BU versus FSU versus a local school versus an MBA? How did you? So that 2-step process. Okay, I have a CPCU. Why should I also get a master's? And how do I decide among the many masters? How did you handle that process?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like you said, some organizations focus on everybody's got to have a CPCU. If you want to succeed, you got to have a CPCU. Once you get your CPCU, you get your CHFC. And I started my CHFC as well. And the key thing for me was I also wanted to develop something for myself. I knew I wanted to go for a master's, whether it was an MBA or anything else. And when I started searching, it was 2 universities actually that were tied to State Farm, I think at the time, that, or just in general with the institutes, that took 1/3 of my master's program away if I had a CPCU.
Yeah, so that's probably BU and the one in Michigan that has the MBA program that's built on top of CPCU. I cannot remember their name right this second. Yeah. But BU is much more of a brand name.
Yeah. Yeah. So BU, of course, I'm from Boston, so I wanted to.
Okay.
So when I saw the name Boston, I think Scranton University is in Pennsylvania also. They do as well. So that was a huge motivating factor for me. It's like, okay, I'm reducing 1/3 of my program, roughly, and it's insurance related. The company is going to pay for it as long as I'm getting hitting all the check marks and. Mm-hmm. Why not develop myself within the organization? So that's what really got me going and learned a whole lot of great skills. I mean, although it's insurance management, as you know, prerequisites are a lot of different things that you have to go through and get project management. So it taught me a lot of project management, operational excellence, a lot of different courses and that I took really helped shape into what I was doing at the time and still doing now.
Okay, so overall, you recommend the program?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, if you have a CPCU and you want to get your master's, there's no other reason. I mean, you could get it in risk management, you could get it in a variety of different areas. There's a couple of selections for you, but as a broad general insurance management, it's great to have. It's great to be able to connect that. Go back to school, although it's a little bit difficult in some cases because we may find it, oh, what am I going to do? And I did it while I had a kid. So it's possible. I'll tell you that. While I was on CAT. So CAT.
Yeah, that's insanity right there. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That is something I have not heard of anybody else getting a degree while on CAT. That is crazy. Awesome. So I really like your story. I think that this you're a great example. I hope that many young what's it called, a young claims adjusters listen to this and look you up on LinkedIn. I'll link you on the post on the post when it goes live, and that they see that you can do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Coming from a personal lines claims background of all places, right? Like millions of people have that background basically, by investing in yourself and doing the right things. Any any mistakes along the way that if you could go back to yourself the first day that you started at State Farm, the first day in insurance, anything that you would warn yourself not to do?
Oh God, so many. You know, and I think the mistakes are what makes you, right. You have to make the mistakes, but you have to make sure you're learning from those mistakes is the key thing, right. It's, I've passed some opportunities because I didn't want to make a lateral move, right. And later on I had to do it, and it worked out great because I was in this mindset of, no, I know personal lines, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to go into commercial. Why do I need to go from
That,
auto to
that was a
fire?
mistake.
Yeah, auto to fire, right? That was a mistake. But
No, like not wanting to go commercial lines
yeah,
when there was an opportunity.
yeah.
And,
When
and,
there's an
and I get
opportunity,
it. Part of that is State Farm is a personal lines company, right? So
yeah.
if you live within the State Farm bubble, it's easy to think that commercial lines is kind of a weird area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, farm ranch, it seems so difficult. Like, that's some of the business that I was handling at that time is like going from auto to fire was a huge shift, and from in office to field. And I let some of the opportunities go, because of the fact that I didn't think I was ready. And the biggest mistake I made, that I look back every single time, I took an AIC course within the first like month of me starting in the insurance industry. It's like, oh, you come in, you do your AIC, then you get your CPCU and you do it. I had no idea. I didn't take it seriously. Failed my first AIC, and I didn't take my next AIC course for probably 2 to 3 years until
It's
a mentor came down to me. He's like, "Why didn't you take it?" Oh, I took it and I failed. He's like, "Did you know what a deductible was when you took it?" No. Did you know different types of deductibles? So you didn't know all that. And then I went and I took it, and it was like a breeze, and that's what got me addicted to it. It's like, whoa, now I know the industry. And that's what I tell people is, when you go into it, just make sure you give it your best and that you learn. Just because you failed at something, don't let that stop you from ever.
that is a really good story. My experience with destinations was the exact opposite, but I took it seriously. I'm not a good student, but I was already doing my MBA, so it was pretty easy to just kind of add it on top, and it just got done. But when I started my designations, it was at Farm Bureau of Iowa, and they had a really cool program. Basically, as long as you had supervisor approval, you could take the test, um, no out of pocket expense. So the company literally had a little library with a bunch of books. So as long as a book was available, they would loan you the book, and they had an in-house testing center, so it would cost you nothing out of pocket. There was no reimbursement process. So what would happen is people would sign up and just not study, right, and show up to take the test, and assume that right, they knew enough to pass it,
I
and
was one of them.
right, and
That's
and,
what
and so I like, I think that the better program is the other carriers where you're paying for the test up front, and then it's 100% reimbursement plus a little bonus once you pass. Because I've never met anybody who paid for it, who didn't study for it,
Yep.
right? So I think maybe the program was too generous,
Yeah.
in that particular setup.
That's
So
funny that you say that, because I actually opted to pay for it myself and get reimbursed because there was an option to directly do it.
okay.
But I opted to do it that way because I knew it was my money on the line, and I needed to get it back. And then I think the other piece was really discovering some of the tools out there. Like for CPCU, I use the Big Daddy University, and for anybody in the field, if if you are driving,
Yeah, the audio
you are
piece.
not you're not recording the Big Daddy you, and you're not taking CPCU, you're wasting your time.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I did mine the traditional way, using the textbook and then the practice test using 100% institute's material. I didn't find out about. By the way, we lost your video. I didn't find out about CPCU until about Big Daddy until after I finished. So I've never used it, but it is wildly popular within within the community. Like the CPCU candidates group, everybody will tell you that Big Daddy is fantastic. But if you guys are listening, we would love to have you as a sponsor.
Yeah, right.
that goes for both Big Daddy or for the institutes or the society. Yeah. Any of you, we talk about you all the time. We'd love to have you as a sponsor. Send me an email. You know how to get a hold of me. Anyway, thank you. That's been a lot of fun. Also, I if I remember correctly, I'll cut this part out if I'm not remembering correctly. But if I remember correctly, when we chatted a few weeks ago, you were talking about wanting to mentor some people. So, yeah. If somebody, a young insurance professional, is listening to this and they want to kind of follow in your footsteps, what's the best way to reach out and apply? Is it add you on LinkedIn, say hi, let them know that they heard you on the podcast?
Yeah, add me on LinkedIn, send me a message, tell me about you and what you're hoping to gain, and if I can help along the way, absolutely. That's what it's all about. It's all about the community. The insurance community is very small, believe it or not. It may seem like a huge beast, but I'll tell you that 95% of the people know Tony Kanye. So and the remaining 5% I may know, but not sure about the other way around. But yeah, it's a small community. So anything I can do to help out.
That is a very good point, and I don't believe that I've ever talked about it on the podcast or on a daily video. If you are new to insurance, realize that even though there are about 1.5 million people in our industry in the States, everybody knows everybody. Burn no bridges ever.
Yes.
Because everybody knows everybody. It really, a good friend of mine, Jacobson, Margaret Reese Millicent, 35-year Jacobson legend, likes to say that insurance has a 1 degree of separation. Basically, like anybody in the industry, you're within 1 degree. You know somebody that knows them. It's just a matter of looking. And yeah, there's some super connectors among the industry, like myself and like Margaret. But yeah, it's a very small industry. Don't burn bridges. If you are if you're not happy where you're at, grab some time and chat with Tony. I'll help you plan your exits so that you don't burn bridges on the way out. Don't give up on the job while you're still there. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I have today. Thank you so much for your time, Awais. Looking forward to see what you guys do as you grow ActiveOps within insurance. I'd love to see it get adopted widely within the industry, because I think that it sounds like a good solution for a problem that I know many carriers have, whether they realize it or not, right? If you can get your people to be honest, they will probably tell you that it is true that the work is misdistributed. Yeah. So if you run a department and this could be helpful, give them a call. Again, profile linked below. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tony. All right, take care, everyone. Feel free to reach out.